Diogo Jota. On July 3, 2025, Diogo Jota and his younger brother, Andrés Silva, needed to travel back to the UK after visiting Spain. However, due to a recent minor lung surgery, Jota had been advised not to fly and instead decided to drive to a ferry port in a rented Lamborghini Huracan. While traveling on the A52 motorway near Chernadilla in the province of Zamora, Spain, and while overtaking another vehicle at high speed, one of the car's tires reportedly blew out. The car swerved off the road, hit an embankment, and burst into flames. Emergency services arrived quickly, but both men were already dead. Jota, who, only 3 weeks earlier, had married his long-term partner, was just 28 at the time of his death and left behind 3 young children. His brother, Andre, was only 25. The tragedy shocked the world. There was a global outpouring of support from fans and players alike. Liverpool Football Club retired the number 20 shirt in honor of the man who, just months earlier, had helped them win the league title. Luciano Re Cecconi was a talented Italian midfielder who played for Lazio and was a member of Italy's 1974 World Cup squad. He was known for being a jokester and was nicknamed the Blonde Angel due to his blonde hair. However, his joking would lead to tragedy. On January 18, 1977, Re Cecconi and 2 friends decided to play a practical joke on another friend who owned a jewelry shop in Rome by staging a fake robbery. They entered the shop covering their faces and Re Cecconi shouted, "This is a robbery!" The jeweler, who had recently been the victim of a real armed robbery, used a legal firearm and shot Re Cecconi in the chest. The footballer died shortly after from his injuries. His last words were reportedly, "It's a joke! It's a joke!" The owner of the jewelry shop was arrested, but never convicted of any crime. Andrés Escobar. During the 1994 World Cup, held in America, the 27-year-old Colombian defender Andrés Escobar scored an own goal while trying to defend a cross against the USA national team. Colombia lost the match 2-1 and were eliminated early. This result devastated football fans across Colombia, as the team were thought to have the potential to progress much further in the tournament. Just days after returning home, on July 2, 1994, Escobar was shot 6 times in the parking lot of a nightclub in Medellin. Witnesses claimed the gunman shouted, "Goal!" with each shot. It's widely believed Escobar was killed in connection to illegal gambling losses suffered by drug cartels and criminal syndicates due to him scoring his own goal. His murder was global news, and his funeral became a massive event in the country, attended by over 120,000 people. His killer, Humberto Muñoz Castro, a bodyguard for a drug cartel member, was sentenced to 43 years, but served only 11. Senzo Meyiwa was the captain of South Africa's national football team and the star goalkeeper for the South African football team, Orlando Pirates. On October 26, 2014, while visiting the home of his girlfriend, South African singer Kelly Khumalo, armed intruders stormed the house and fatally shot him. Early reports described the incident as a botched robbery, but the case quickly descended into chaos. Several people were inside the house at the time, yet for years no one was arrested. Investigations stalled, evidence vanished, and speculation grew that this wasn't a robbery at all, but a targeted hit. In 2020, 6 years after the shooting, 5 suspects were finally charged, but the case remains clouded by court delays, allegations of torture, and claims of political interference. Meyiwa's girlfriend was allegedly linked to one of the accused, but has denied any involvement. Lutz Eigendorf was an East German midfielder who played for Dynamo Berlin, one of East Germany's top football clubs in the 1970s. At the time, Germany was divided into 2 countries, the Communist East and the Capitalist West. Dynamo Berlin was closely controlled by the Stasi, East Germany's notorious secret police. At the time, attempting to defect from East Germany without permission was considered extremely dangerous and reckless. But in 1979, while Dynamo Berlin was in West Germany for a friendly match against First FC Kaiserslautern, Eigendorf made a bold move. A day after the game, he fled from his team and sought asylum at the offices of First FC Kaiserslautern, hoping to defect and join the club. His defection was a major embarrassment for the East German regime, especially since he had escaped from a team operated by the Stasi, the very agency responsible for preventing such defections. On March 5, 1983, after leaving a team dinner in West Germany, Eigendorf's car suddenly veered off the road and crashed into a tree. He died 2 days later. The incident was officially ruled an accident, but suspicions lingered. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, declassified files revealed that Eigendorf had been under constant Stasi surveillance. Evidence emerged, suggesting the regime may have orchestrated his death in retaliation for his defection. Emiliano Sala was an Argentine striker who had just signed a £15 million deal with Welsh club Cardiff City from FC Nantes in France. On January 21, 2019, While flying from Nantes to Cardiff to finalise his transfer, Sala's private plane disappeared over the English Channel. The pilot, David Ibbotson, did not have a valid licence and was not legally allowed to fly at night. It is reported that, during a WhatsApp message sent to his friends, Sala said, "I'm up in this plane that feels like it's falling to pieces." The aircraft then crashed into the sea, and Sala's body was not recovered until weeks later. From the wreckage, 67 meters underwater, Ibbotson's body was never found. Investigators discovered that Sala had inhaled a substantial amount of carbon monoxide during the flight, likely due to a leak into the plane's cabin. This exposure may have impacted the pilot's mental and physical functioning. Cardiff City claimed that, as Sala was not registered before his death, they didn't have to pay his transfer fee. However, after a legal dispute, FIFA ultimately ruled in Nantes' favour. Cheick Tioté. Cheick Tioté was a powerful midfielder, best known for his time at Newcastle United, and his involvement in the golden generation of the Ivory Coast national team. On June 5, 2017, during a training session with the Chinese club Beijing Enterprises, Cheick Tioté, who was just 30 years old, collapsed on the pitch and was rushed to hospital, but could not be revived. The official cause of death was cardiac arrest. What shocked fans most was the complete lack of warning. He had shown no signs of health issues and had passed all medicals. Tioté left behind 2 wives, one of whom was reportedly due to have his child only weeks after his death. The Busby Babes. In the 1950s, Manchester United had one of the most talented squads in world football, known as the Busby Babes, for their youth and skill under manager Matt Busby. On February 6, 1958, the team was returning from a European Cup match in Belgrade. After a refueling stop in Munich, their plane attempted to take off in snowy, slushy conditions. On the third attempt, disaster struck. The aircraft crashed through a fence, one of its wings struck a house, and the plane burst into flames. Of the 44 people on board, 23 died, including 8 Manchester United players. Among the dead was 21-year-old Duncan Edwards, a rising star who initially survived but died from his injuries 2 weeks later. Journalists, staff, and crew were also among the victims. 21 people survived, including manager Matt Busby, who was critically injured but eventually recovered, and future footballing legend Bobby Charlton. It took years for the club to rebuild, but a decade later, under Busby's leadership and with Charlton at the heart of the team, Manchester United won the European Cup for the first time. Marc-Vivien Foé. Marc-Vivien Foé was a key midfielder for Cameroon and a respected figure in international football. On June 26, 2003, during a FIFA Confederations Cup semi-final against Colombia in Lyon, France, and with millions watching, Foé suddenly collapsed in the 72nd minute, away from the play. Medics rushed onto the pitch and attempted to resuscitate him for 45 minutes, both on the field and later in the stadium's medical room. Tragically, he was pronounced dead shortly after. The match continued, with Cameroon securing a 1-0 victory, unaware at the time that Foé had passed away. An autopsy later revealed he had suffered from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a hereditary heart condition that significantly increases the risk of sudden cardiac death during intense physical activity. Junior Malanda. Junior Malanda was a rising star in Belgian football and a key player for Bundesliga club VfL Wolfsburg. On January 10, 2015, Malanda, just 20 years old, was a passenger in the back seat of an SUV heading to the airport to catch a flight for a winter training camp in South Africa. While driving on a rain-slicked highway near Porta Westfalica in Germany, the driver lost control of the vehicle. The car crashed and flipped multiple times. Malanda, who was not wearing a seatbelt, was ejected from the vehicle and died instantly. It was later revealed that the SUV had been caught speeding more than 20 times in the 6 months prior to the crash, though Malanda was rarely the one behind the wheel.